Hello again everyone, Ken from Whittling Woods back again. Today I think we're going to do a little wood spirit. We're going to use this piece of, actually it's Sweetgum. That's where this section of wood is from. It was cut probably almost a year ago, kept in water, so we're going to see how it performs. I don't know, maybe it may have dried out too much, I don't know, but it's been sitting in water for all that time, so we're going to see. Hopefully it helps some moisture and it'll be relatively straightforward to cut. Once it's dry, it's very difficult to cut. We're going to use this little Rough Rider pocket knife here to do the whittle, and just for reference sake, the piece is about 6 inches long. And I believe it's about 1.25 inches, let's see, or excuse me, 1.5 inches. So there you go, in diameter. And we'll see if we can get a little wood spirit in here. We'll probably shorten it, the ends a little bit after we're done. But you know, maybe you can see the curve of the wood here. Maybe we'll kind of make this his face over here. So I'm going to get everything set up, and I will be right back. Okay. Here we are. First thing I like to do with these wood spirits is remove some of the bark. Typically I like to keep some of the bark on, depending on how well it holds up. We'll see. It's a little broken apart on this side over here, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll hold up pretty decent. But like I said, first thing I like to do is remove sections of the bark here where we're going to whittle the little wood spirit in. So that's what I typically start with. And I'm using the larger blade on the Rough Rider to do that. Seems pretty wet on the surface here still, so hopefully it's relatively reasonable to cut into. We'll see. I've used this Sweetgum before, and it's pretty nice. It's you know, once it dries up, it darkens the wood a bit, but starting out it's a little lighter. So anyway, let me finish up removing the bark. You see what I'm doing here. Once I'm all done that, I'll be right back. Okay, you can see I removed a portion of the bark here. We'll probably wind up removing just a bit more, but we'll see how it goes. You never know what you're going to run into. I see right in this area here, it looks like there's a bit of a knot, so that might pose a problem. I'm going to start up just a little bit higher. We're going to see what we run into with that. That may or may not cause us some headaches, but we'll see. First thing I typically do is make the cut for the top of the nose and eye area. So we're going to say right about there, and it's going to be a little wood spirit. So you can see the wood. I don't know how well this is going to translate in the video, but you can kind of see the wood's still a little wet, so which is good because it'll make it slightly easier to whittle. But we'll see as we start getting deeper into it. But that's all I'm doing here is just basically cutting. You can see right in here, just cutting a bit down. This is going to be the basically eventually it'll be where the eyes are gonna go. And I'll try to keep it as straightforward and easy if you're just getting into whittling and you want to try wood spirits out on found wood like this, and then hopefully you can follow along here. But there you go. Now what I like to do, the next line I like to make typically is the bottom of the nose. So we'll put the bottom of the nose maybe right about here, I'd say. Just determine how long you want the nose to be. And I'm going to say right about here. So I'm going to put a little cut into the wood, and then start cutting up to that. I follow the same principles or same method that I've used. I have a number of beginner tutorials on carving the face, the nose, the eyes. I follow the same principles that I show in those videos when I do this. So if you want a detailed or more tutorial-like view of things, and check some of those videos. I'll probably have links for the beginner series down in the description below. So there you go. We're just kind of cutting. You can kind of see here. This is going to be the bottom of the nose at some point. And right in here, like I said, there's going to be a knot. So I'm just going to try to see. Yeah, right there. It's a little tough to cut. You run into all sorts of things with when you're using wood like this. So hopefully it's not a nail or anything like that. I'm going to start taking the sides back a little bit as well, because this will eventually be the the cheek area. Okay, sort of like that. We're probably going to wind up going a little bit deeper. But there you go, there's the first two parts. What I think I might do is switch to a smaller blade. I don't really need such a large blade here. Let me get that set up, and I'll be right back. Okay, switched over to the smaller blade here, so we're just going to continue with our whittle. What I like to do at this point, now that I have, as you can kind of see from the side here, I'd like to form the sides of the nose here. So we're going to come down, make a stop cut here, and make a stop cut here. So what I'll do is I'll put my knife in right up to where the eye area is, and just basically bring it down. Now, depending on how hard the wood is, I can see this is it's pretty hard. So you might have to do this in phases and steps, so to speak, because it's depending on the wood you got here, and it's if you're using just regular basswood and what have you to do this, you can it's going to be a lot easier to do. But with wood like this, you're going to take so much off at a time. But that's what I'm doing here. I'm just forming the sides of the nose here. So I'll come in and I'll come back and I'll just start deepening that a little bit. I like to get the nose established on the face. Everything's sort of the nose is sort of the center of everything. So it's the one point that I like to establish early on. And again, like I said, I have fairly detailed tutorials on all this. So if I'm moving too quickly for you, then go check those out. And if I'm moving too slow for you, then speed up the video, I guess. Turn the volume down so you don't have to hear me talk, and speed up the video. I'm just so you know, I'm doing Woodspirit for my good friend Black Bart, who has amazingly he makes knives, and he has offered to make me a knife and send it my way. So, which is incredibly generous, and wow, I can't thank him enough for that. So, really looking forward to using the knife, and it's a real honor to have someone do that for me. So that's a great thing. Black Bart, I do appreciate it very much, and I told him I'd do a Woodspirit for him and send it his way as well. So that's what this will turn out to be. If it comes out good. I'm not going to send him a garbage one. I'll redo it and get something even nicer. But hopefully this will be the one. Anyway, we're going to do the other side of the nose. I'm just going to repeat what I did on this side, so I won't make you sit through that. I'll be right back. Okay, there you go. You can see we got both sides kind of whittled out over there. And it's just basically you're making your stop cuts and you're just taking the wood away. That's it. I mean, take your time and do it. What I'd like to do here is flare up the sides of the nose just a bit, so I kind of come in here on the bottom of each nose where the nostrils are, and I kind of just cut it upward at an angle just a bit. I like to do it before I form the where the nostrils are going to be, just so I don't cut them too shallow. Kind of like so. So there you go. You can kind of start rounding it out just a bit if you want here. So kind of like that. I might go just a little bit more on the nostril here, a little bit more of a flared up there, I think. I don't know, it depends on the look. It might change a little bit as I whittle here. I'm going to put a cut for the nostril. We're going to say maybe right about, I usually break it up into thirds. I look at the nose, the length from the eye area down to the nostril, and I say about a third of the way is where the nostril should be. And, you know, depending, you can make them smaller or narrower. Sometimes I'll do it straight. Sometimes I'll angle it towards the tip of the nose. So in this case, I'm going to do it that way. I'm just going to put a little stop cut in there. You can see kind of angled towards the tip of the nose, and then just come back in here and basically take a little chunk out like so. And then I can come around here and I can clean that up a bit. Take a little bit more off the side. And it kind of just forms a little bit of a nostril over there. And then, you know, we'll work out the same thing on this side as well. Let's see, we started about a third of the way up, so that's right about there, and we angled it towards the front of the nose, or towards the tip of the nose, like so. Put a little stop cut in. And again, the nose is, the face and the nose, everything's, you know, it's not perfectly symmetrical a lot of times. So if you get it off, and if you're off a little bit, don't worry about it, because that's okay. I mean, you know, if you've broken your nose or a couple times in your life, you know, not that I'm know anybody who's done that, but if you have done that, then your nose is going to be a little wonky. So there you go. It just kind of forms a bit of a nostril in there, as you can kind of see. And that also gives us a reference to where we're going to put our smile lines in from. So what I like to do in that regard is I'll start, that's a little grin lines you get when you smile, or as you get older, people start getting that line. I guess it's, there's probably the technical term for it, but we'll say smile line. That goes usually from the nostril down. He's going to have a beard on, so he's going to have a beard, so we're just going to bring this smile line down a bit. It also helps to deepen the nose a little bit, because you're going to come in here, you're going to put a line right at that nostril, basically down like a stop cut straight into the wood, and then come right at the edge of the nostril here and put another kind of like a triangle right in here. There's a little triangle, and you're going to then kind of come back and take out that little triangle. I don't know if you can see that, but that's basically it. It deepens the nose a bit in the face, and then you can kind of come back and round the nostril just a tad bit. You can make these as deep as you want. You know, since they're wood spirits and all that, we can overemphasize these little features. And in wood carving, whittling especially with a knife and all that, all the little cuts that you make, they work to, you know, make the piece come to life, because sometimes the deeper lines create more shadows, and it just adds more interest rather than having it flat. So don't be afraid to go a little deep on these things. And that's, you know, that's just the way I look at it. You know, you can certainly approach it differently. Now, with wood like this, it's again, it's not green wood, because it was cut, well, like I mentioned, probably over a year ago. But I've kept it in water, so it's still a little wet inside. But it's not, I wouldn't call it, I mean, it's green usually refers to how fresh the wood is from when it was cut initially. Like I said, this is, if it was left out of the bucket of water, it would have dried out a lot, you know, would have dried out. So I've kept it fairly green, so to speak, by doing that. And there you go. So I put a smile line over here, and I just come back and I start deepening it a little bit, and I come back underneath the nose. And you can kind of see what you're kind of aiming for, rather than having the nose sit right on like if this was your face and your nose was where my knife is, it's sitting on top of the face. You really don't want that. You want to kind of tuck it back in so you can see the deep part of the nose is all the way back in here. So it's in further. It's kind of the way your nose actually is on your face. So by doing these lines and then cutting these smile lines and then cutting in here, you give the look of the nose kind of sitting back into the face a little bit. So that's why I do that. And then you have to keep in mind that your mouth mound over here is kind of rounded. So build all that into your whittle. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and just like I did here, put a little smile line in straight down, and I'll do that off camera since you saw me do it on that side. No use repeating it again. So let me get that taken care of, and I'll be right back. Okay, there you go. We did it on both sides over here. So and we kept this sort of round. This is going to be the mustache and beard when it's all done. What I like to do at this point is form the cheek. So I just basically come back here and I angle up in the opposite direction here. And you can go any way you want. If you want them, to deepen his face a little bit, you can come up even higher. But we'll go about midway. And I just kind of take a little chunk of wood out at the bottom here. It just like that. Mustache is going to come down to that point over there, so I just kind of come in here and I just kind of round it out a bit, just like so. The beard and the mustache will be, and the hair kind of comes all down to this point, so that's all. And then I come back and I kind of do the same thing on this side over here. I'll just come back in and I'll take a little notch out of the bottom over here. Kind of like so. All right. So what we can do here is we can start kind of working on where the eyes are going to be. So let's bring the forehead back just a bit more. What we're going to have is the eyes kind of in here and the eyebrow right on top of it. So I'm going to bring this back a little bit more. This the forehead does go kind of back a bit more in your head. It kind of mimics the slope of your nose a bit. So this slope here, give or take, should kind of be the same as that. Give or take. It doesn't have to be the same, but just from the standpoint of making it look right. Well, I say that look right. You however you do this and however you make it look is going to be good. And if you do these enough, you'll get good at it and be able to change little things on them. I wish I could do more of these, actually. Sometimes I like doing these. I like doing these kind of things because to me they're really whittling at its best, where you're just taking a found piece of wood and a pocket knife and you're whittling away. I don't think it gets any better than that. Personally, don't get me wrong. You can little figure carving and all the other whittles that go on out there are great too, but this is real fun to me to do. So there you go. What I want to do for the eyes is keep them fairly simple. So we're going to basically do something like this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to make a cut right in this area over here, just like so. I'm going to come kind of to where the nose is. I hope you can see that. And I'm just going to make a cut right in here, like so. And I'm going to come right down to that cut. Take your time. And hopefully this will work the way I want it to work. And I'm going to kind of come back around here. What we're going to do is form like a bit of a triangle right over here. And that'll be where the eye is, essentially. It's an easy way to do the eye. It's not overly complicated. I think it's relatively straightforward to manage. And then I typically round out the tip of that triangle. So I hope you can kind of see that. It's not all that difficult to do. This is kind of the brow area. This is going to be the eyelid, and this will be the eyeball in here. So you got kind of the eyeball here, the eyelid, and the brow. It's not an overly complicated eye to do, and I think it's for this kind of whittle, it looks good. You could certainly approach it differently, make it much more detailed if you choose. So that's that. That's a pretty straightforward kind of eye there. Yep. I might have to switch to a smaller knife when I finish these eyes, or excuse me, a smaller blade on this thing. I have the other blade on here. This one over here, the smaller one, is cut down a little bit, so it's easier to. The problem with these inexpensive pocket knives, the blades are kind of flexible a bit. They're a decent stainless steel, but they sharpen up okay and all that. But they're cheap little pocket knives. They do their job, but they can be a bit flexible. And the other issue with pocket knives, or these kind of pocket knives at least, is they don't lock. So you got to be careful. This doesn't lock, so if you're pushing, it'll snap back and get you. So be careful with that if you're using a pocket knife like that. So that's kind of like the eye in one eye. Well, I'll do it on the other side, but you kind of saw what I did. All we did was just kind of go in there and make a little just relieve this kind of wood out of here. Just take away this little kind of chunk of wood in this area. So we'll do the same thing on this side. Again, you're going to kind of come in here at an angle, just like so. And then you're just going to want to cut, basically cut away that wood in there. Start out like that, if you can see, and then take it around the side a bit. That's all. Like I said, it's not the most detailed eye, but it's also pretty serviceable and relatively straightforward to do. I know a lot of people, have trouble with doing eyes, and and struggle with getting it to look right. I find that sometimes you can overly complicate it to the point where it takes kind of the fun out of it. And I don't strive to make them look hyper realistic anyway. These are supposed to be simple, easy whittles to do, just have fun with. And if it, you can get it to, kind of serviceable, it's kind of like that. You can kind of see we got. And I'll go around here and I'll probably deepen this a bit more and refine it a bit with the smaller blade, like I mentioned. I'm going to notch off just a bit at the top here to round it out a bit. So kind of like that. You can kind of see we have the illusion of a couple eyes in there. So that's it. Without a lot of struggle, we did it pretty good. And then we can kind of come down here on the bottom and form like a bit of a bags, lower eyelid, whatever you want to do. I just kind of come around and I tie it into the edge of the eye. Just basically go around and do that. I'll show you. Kind of like that. Not overly complicated. Kind of like so. So it creates a bit of a bag under the eye. And anybody who's watched my channel before knows what I like to do is kind of what I call get things roughed out, and then I go back and I refine them. So I never work to completion in an area, for the most part. And what I do is kind of rough it out a bit and then go back and refine things. I find that for me it works better that way. Some people like to, I think, work differently, but for me I like doing it that way for a number of reasons. One is I think if you refine something too much in one area, and then you're working on especially like on a face where it's fairly symmetrical, for the most part. Again, like I mentioned, you can get away with definitely with some asymmetry, no doubt about it. But if you do that and then something happens on the other side, that it might be trouble. You might have trouble fixing it because you've refined one side to a finished state, and then you can't now go back and make changes to the finished side as much as you'd like to. It's just my way of looking at it, but you can kind of see how I did that over there. It's not overly complicated to do that. Just take your time and you'll get it, I think. Just got to kind of shave some of this bark back just a bit more over here. There you go. So you can kind of see without a lot of fuss, we created an eye and a face like that in a little bag. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then when I'm ready to move on to maybe the brow area or what have you, I'll come back. Alrighty, be right back. Okay, you can kind of see we're moving along here. We kind of got the eyes pretty much taken care of. Now we're just going to kind of work on the brow a bit here. So what I like to do is I'll come in here and I'll put just a bit of a cut. This will be the separation for the eyebrows themselves. So I'll put a little cut right in here and just a little notch. Sometimes with the wood, when it's a little moist, the cuts that you make disappear when you take your knife out, so they sort of heal up. So anyway, I'm just going to take a little notch cut out over here. You can kind of see something like that, just to start the separation of the brows. There we go, kind of like that. And then I'll come in here and I'll start just shaping the brow around a bit. So it's basically going to be the eyebrow. All I'm doing is coming in around the top here, just curving it around, following the eye itself, as you can see. And then we'll come back in here, since this is going to be the forehead in here, we're going to start bringing that wood even back further. So what we're trying to aim for here is to create a bit of an area that kind of protrudes out just a bit above from the forehead. So kind of like so, and then come back around and do the same thing on this side. Again, this is the eyebrow themselves, and this is the forehead, so I'm just cutting around. And if you are doing this with wood like this, take your time, because the wood can be, even though it's this Sweetgum wood, when it's dry, is pretty hard. When it's wet like this, it chips out. You'll take a big chunks of wood out in one shot if you're not careful, and it can be kind of frustrating, because you think you're moving along okay, and then suddenly a chip that you didn't anticipate coming out pops out, and you're like, uh-oh, well, what am I going to do now? Well, you got to modify something. So kind of like that. We're just giving, making some kind of crazy eyebrows around there, and they're going to kind of just taper into the sides over here. You can see from the side over here. So it gives the look of an eyebrow, and then maybe we'll notch out just to kind of round the bottom out a bit, right above the nose here. kind of like so. Give him some character, right? There we go. And just going to angle this a bit more here. Now what we're going to do here is, I think I'm going to actually, let me switch over to the smaller blade, and we'll come back and we'll start working on the beard a bit. Alrighty. So let's figure out what we want to do with our beard here. What I'd like to typically do is start with the mustache. So I find the center of the face over here. So that's kind of bringing it right down here. That's probably about the center. So I put a little cut. This is going to be the separation, the bottom of the mustache, where the mustache parts. So I'm going to put a little kind of cut in the wood over here, as you can see, just straight into the wood, and then a little cut on that side. And then just remove that bit of triangle of wood over there. And same thing on this side over here. This is right where that knot is. You can kind of see right there, that little knot. And that's kind of the separation for the mustache. So depending on how you want to make your mustache, I think we're just going to carry this. He's going to have a big droopy mustache. So I'm just going to keep carrying this one right down. And same thing on this side. You're going to put your stop cuts and just follow it right down. Kind of like so. So you can see he's got a big beard mustache thing going on over here. And then we'll carry it down on this as well. So from where we made those little cheek cuts, we'll put a little cut in here and just kind of cut up to it and down to it. And I'll carry it down into the bark area. Kind of like that. And you see how that's going on the side over there. And then maybe we'll just keep at it right into the bark. I like to sort of have it blend into the bark a bit. You know, there's a whole bunch of ways you can do this, but that's kind of the way I like to do it. Kind of, if you can see it like that on the side there. So it sort of starts to taper in. It's a Woodspirit, right? He should be coming out of the bark. And this is going to be his, you know, kind of the back part of his beard over here. Coming down underneath and everything. And that little knot over there is going to be right where his mouth, bottom of his bottom lip would be. So that's going to be a little bit of a mess having that right there, but oh, so be it. I mean, kind of see. I had a mustache in there pretty quick, right? And do the same thing on this side over here. Just kind of, you know, you're going to carry this right down into the bark as well. However you want to do it. That's the nice thing about this. You really, there's no, you know, there's just go with what you looks right to you or feels right to you. And it doesn't really, it'll typically look okay when it's done. You just have to kind of go with it. There's really no rule. As long as you're having fun. So there you go. And for the beard, we're going to basically, I'm just kind of deepening this side just a bit more. For the beard, we're just going to do the same kind of idea. We're just going to basically start carrying that down as well. Because what we'll do, we'll put in like just rough indications of hair. tiny little knot right there. Typically what I like to do in this area is form a bit of a lip. Might be a little bit troublesome with that knot right there, but we're going to give it a shot. What I do is I come over here, and let me just bring this side up a bit and bring this side up a bit. Okay, there's the mustache. What I like to do is I come in and first let me get this squared away a little bit more. Okay, what I like to do is come in over here. I'd say maybe about right here. What I'm going to do is form like two cuts. I'm going to put a cut in over here. This is going to be his lower lip, where his beard comes up to his lower lip. So I'm going to put a cut in over here, just like so, and I'm going to cut up to that cut. And then we're going to come on the other side and do the same thing. So I'm going to just put my knife over here, put a stop cut. We're going to make sure we're fairly straight there, or angle, keep the angle fairly consistent, and then just kind of cut up to that. You're going to form a bit of a triangle right underneath the mustache, and then that's going to, we'll turn that into his lower lip. So if you can kind of see, we've made a little bit of a triangle in there. Hope you can see that. With the wood, it might be a little difficult. But that's all. We made a little triangle right in here, triangle of wood right underneath the mustache. And then what I do is I just snip off the bottom, kind of like what we did up here with the eyes. We just snip off the bottom, the apex of that triangle. And so it kind of rounds it out a bit. It's going to have to be a little bit deeper on that side. Again, think in terms of this being just what it is, or what it's supposed to be, the lower lip. So it's protruding out just a bit. And the hair for the beard is coming up right to it, and the mustache is covering the upper part of it. What I then typically do, and again, it'd be a little bit of a challenge with that knot right there, but I come in here, and I put my knife in the wood, right at the bottom of that mustache where it meets, because I want to deepen this a bit. I want to flatten it out and deepen it. So I put a cut in that side and a cut in this side. And what I want to do is I'm trying to deepen this part over here and flatten it out. So I kind of come back in here and I work at removing that bit of wood in there. And hopefully it looks like a lip going back in to the mouth a bit more. Kind of like so, if you can kind of see, it's got a lip. And the more you deepen this and flatten it, the more it'll look like a lip and not a tongue sticking out. And sometimes you can even, when I say flatten it, I mean flatten it in this regard here, rather than having this little triangle like it was kind of sticking this way. We're trying to flatten it like that. And so kind of like he's got his, like he's whistling or something. That's it. Play around with it until you can kind of get away without even doing that if you choose, but we'll throw it in there. So there we go. And then the rest of it's just going to be adding some detail, some hair and what have you. So I am going to, I think, strop this knife up a bit. And once I get to that point, we'll come back and we'll figure out what we're going to do with the hair and the rest of it. But we're close to being done here. So if you've hung in there this long, thank you. Right, there's where we are so far. It's coming along pretty good. Alrighty, I'm going to strop things up and I'll be right back. Okay, what I think we're going to do here is just start adding some indications of basically hair. Let's start doing that. So just some kind of like there's hair in the beard. It's separated. We're just going to put cuts in here and kind of come back around and just you don't have to necessarily do this. We're not doing individual hair strands. We're just kind of making it look like it's there's hair is moving around the face here for the beard. That's all. I mean, it's not that difficult to do. You just have to put your knife in the wood and play around and take out little lines like that. If you have a V-gouge, try that out too. You can start with the V-gouge and then come back and adjust the cuts to your liking. If you'd rather add a little bit more. Sometimes the problem with the V-gouge, it can be a bit regular in its look. It's so you might want to just go back after you made your initial cuts with the V-gouge and add a little bit of knife work to it. You can also do that. So something like that. We're just adding it so it looks like the hair is kind of flowing around. That's all. So I'm going to kind of fast forward this a little bit because you see what I'm doing here, and it's not overly complicated. It's just a little time consuming. So we're just adding facial hair, or the look of facial hair. That's all. So I'm going to fast forward through a little bit of this. Okay, there you go. We just added a bit of indication of, I guess, what you would call hair or beard or whatever. And I like to make it just kind of all over the place there. And I can go back. I might go back and just clean up some of the cuts a bit. But that's all you saw. It's just kind of let it go. Maybe taper it into the bark if you like. I kind of like that look. To me, I kind of think that looks good. And then maybe the same thing for the mustache as well. We'll add just a couple little lines in the mustache just to make it look like there's hair in there as well. So again, just make a couple little cuts here, like it's like so. You can. Kind of like that. We're going in just to give the indication that there's some type of hair. Well, not some type of hair. There's hair. It's hair. Type of thing. We're adding a little bit of dimension to it. You can avoid this part altogether and just go through and add a little bit of knife work to it. I kept, in my prior videos, I kept calling this, when you go through and if you watch, I did a video on a little lighthouse recently. And I went through and I took these little I kept calling them texturing cuts. And one of my viewers reminded me that it's actually not texturing, it's faceting. So I don't know why I was using the term texturing, probably because my brain's getting old. But yes, faceting is the correct term, and I appreciate the the correction on that because it's that way it's no confusion. But anyway, there you go. So we're adding a little bit of detail to the mustache, and the more kind of little detail things you do like this, I don't know, you can choose to do whatever you want or how much you want. And I just think that adds a little bit more character to the piece overall. And that's that's it there. For the nose, I'm going to probably just shape these nostrils up just a bit more. So I'm going to kind of come in here. Now that I have the smaller blade on here, I think I can deepen these a little bit more. You kind of see I'm just deepening it. And then what I like to do is I come back in over here, and you can kind of see, and I sort of scoop out a little bit of wood on each side. Kind of like that. Alrighty. And then what we could do here is also add maybe a little bit of indication of hair to the eyebrows as well, if you choose. You don't have to. And all you do for that is just kind of start in the well, anywhere you want really, and just kind of make these little cuts in the wood, like these little V gouge type cuts. You know, if you have a V tool, grab one and do that. But I kind of come around and I start to do that. Just to, again, it'll read as an eyebrow and not a lumpy forehead. Well, it probably is a lumpy forehead too, but kind of like so. If you can kind of see, we added just a bit of more detail there. And you know, with these kind of things, you can play around with it as long as you want, and add as little or detail or as much detail as you choose. And that's what I encourage you to do when you're doing these. It's just to kind of play around with it. Don't that's the nice thing about doing these kind of things. This wood here, you can't get any cheaper than free. You just go out and find a branch that just fell and whittle away, or do like I did, store it in a bucket of water, and it holds up pretty well. I'm finding, I used to just try to grab my wood while it was green and do it, but a lot of times I find a piece and I can't get to a Woodspirit right away or whatever I'm doing, and if I didn't and I left it out, it would dry out and it would become too difficult to whittle, too hard. So I figured I'd try this idea. I just literally just a bucket of water I keep out on our back patio, and it was there all winter long. So there's a bunch of pieces in there, and it seems to have worked pretty good actually. So give it a shot if you find wood and you can't get to your wood right away. So there you be, pretty good there. He's looking pretty much like a Woodspirit. Now you can, or you don't have to necessarily add hair on the top over here. You can kind of you sort of can do that if you choose. I don't know. Let's think about it. Do we want to do that or not? I kind of like the way he looks, so I don't know that it's really necessary at this point. It's like his hair is under some kind of cap here, which I kind of like the idea of that in a way. Sometimes it can look a little busy with the hair up top too. Or actually, what I find sometimes in some pieces I've done, if I do the hair up top, sometimes it looks too symmetrical. It looks like this hair, and it's like up and down, like an upside down piece. So sometimes just not adding all that detail on the top here, maybe just small indications of it. But if you add too much, I don't know. It depends. These are more like the videos on just kind of getting you started. And then one here, I'd like to add just a bit of texture to the cheeks here, but maybe facets, textures. Maybe I'll put a little cut in here, make it look like the beard's coming down this way too. A couple of them. Just go around, look at your piece, and look at it, see what you think would look good, or what you want to add or not add to it. You don't have to follow exactly like I'm doing. Now sometimes the thing with these pieces too is once they fully dry, are they going to check and you get a big crack in the wood or something like that? You might. It definitely might happen. I've done quite a bit of wood spirits over time, and some of them have you get a crack when the wood fully dries out. You get a big crack right down the middle, right where you did your whittle. And first I was like, when that happened, I think early on when I started doing these many years ago, I'm like, oh, it kind of ruined it. But over time, I actually began to appreciate it. I really don't mind it if it does. It really just, to me, adds even more character to the piece, makes it look more natural. Nature and you work together to finish the whittle, which is really kind of cool in a way. So I kind of like that. So yeah, don't fret if it does check on you. It's actually sometimes a good thing. So there we be here. I'm going to look it over a bit and see if I want to add anything else, and if I do, I'll come on back and show you. Okay, the only thing I am thinking that I might want to add in is just a little bit more cragginess or bags or a little more detail right underneath the eyes over here. I just think they need a little bit more lines and stuff like that. Just kind of like that. Nothing too dramatic. Maybe on this side as well, obviously. Just to add a little bit more detail. It's nothing too big. Maybe come down the sides of the eye a bit. Get a little bit more texture in there. Kind of like maybe this slight indication of like crow's feet. I don't know. Doesn't have to be that dramatic. And then maybe just a bit of faceting on the face and the nose here. Be careful in this phase. This is the phase where you wind up ruining your piece because you do too much to it. You get it to a point where you kind of like it, and then you say, just maybe a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you're like, oh, I ruined it. I am going to put just a bit of an indication of a hair split right in here. Kind of come down like that. Put a little cut here just to make it look like there's hair tucked under the this bark hat that he's wearing. I guess, something like that. Just a little bit of a cut like that, and then maybe some indications of hair. Kind of coming around underneath the bark over here. We'll play around with that a little bit. You can kind of see, just adding a bit of detail in here that might give the illusion that he's got hair underneath. I don't want to overdo it, but I figured I'd kind of show that as well. It's something you could do. You can actually go add a lot more, like I mentioned before, but in this case I think I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Just go around, and what I try to aim for is if the hair is parted in the center and it's kind of tucked underneath the hat. So that's all I'm really kind of doing, is adding a bit of lines in here, so it kind of gives that look. It might or may not read perfectly like that, but that's all. Just adding something in there. And you do as like, again, as little or as much as you want. You can kind of see how that's looking. A little bit like hair underneath there. And we're gonna, it's kind of sort of tucked underneath this this bark over here. I'll probably just clean it up a bit more. I don't want to go overboard, and like I said, you don't want to go in here and then ruin it a bit, because that can happen. And honestly, you really don't ruin the piece. There's always a way to fix it, and there's always the ultimate fix for ruining pieces like this. It's when you really ruin it, you can't do anything with it. It's called the fireplace or the wood stove. So you can always reuse it, but no. Hopefully that's you don't have to do that. But even if you did, big deal. Don't get frustrated. So we're going to do something like that. Then what I like to do is just kind of come around here and frame it out. So I'm going to come around just to add a little bit of contrast. You can kind of see it sort of creates a bit of a frame. All right. And maybe we'll just kind of continue it right down on both sides. And with that, I think for the most part we're pretty done this little wood spirit here, and it was a lot of fun to do. I really enjoyed it. My buddy Black Bart, this will be yours, and I'm really looking forward to the knife. I do appreciate that. I hope if you're interested in doing wood spirits, this was beneficial to you. Let me know in the comments. It helps me out, helps the channel out, I guess, too, they say, if people comment, so feel free to comment. Tell me stuff you liked or didn't like. Now what I typically do is I'll just go around and start to do these, maybe a little bit of faceting cuts here and there, just to add a bit of tool marks to it. That again, it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. We're not painting this. All I do is just, once it's thoroughly dry, I'll oil it up. I'll use the Howard feed and wax on this as well, and it'll protect it really well. I've had other whittles I've done, other ones that I've done quite some time ago, and I've just use that and apply it every so often if it dries out, and they hold up pretty well over time. They're really and they look good too, and it's natural for the wood, so that would be my recommendation. I'm going to wait a little bit until it's dry, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So, but before that, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and have a great whittling week. Take care.